we'll move on to the Center for Innovation. The 1981 batch funded it, and all other batches have envied it ever since. The Center for Innovation, C5, has become a jewel in IITM's crown. May I now invite Professor Mahesh Panchagnula, the faculty in charge, to talk about its status and outlook.
Thank you very much for coming. This is I'm sure you are enjoying it, but we also love to have you back on campus. It's always a very pleasant experience to see in Billy Joel's words, remember people who remembered us in younger man's clothes. So I think this is a very nice occasion for you as it is for us. Just want to take a few minutes to talk about a place called the Center for Innovation. This didn't exist when you were students. It didn't exist even when I was student. 3 years after 89, I graduated in 92. But it's a remarkable place. There was pieces of this right around the time that I was a student. But what this is today is much bigger than anything that we had imagined when we were students. So I just want to quickly give you an overview of what the Center for Innovation is doing. I must start by saying, if you notice, there is no acknowledgement of who is going to do the talking. So my name is Mahesh, but it's really all the students involved with this center who have to be given credit for all the work that's happening in here. So they are not here right now, but I think they can still hear a big applause from all of us. This is a remarkable group of students. I mean, we hear this occasionally, we all like this, but these are students who desire, select and want to do more with their IIT life than the rest. Okay, so I was talking to a newspaper editor a little while ago when I described them as they are not your run-of-the-mill IITians. That's who they are. All right, so this is a place that was inaugurated in 2008. Thanks to the batch of 1981, their vision really led to this facility, and it's been in vogue now for about 6 years. The reason I think Professor Nagarajan invited me to talk to you here is it has grown over the last 6 years, but we have now a critical mass in every respect, student, facility, space, ideas that I think we are ready to really take off, and that's where I think your inputs would be very helpful. Our tagline says the student walks in with an idea and walks out with a product on hand. So this is a place, it's kind of a tinkering lab. Any student can come in, do what they want to do. We have infrastructure, facilities set up for them to unleash their creativity and walk out with what they want to do, completely free to the students. So that's the essential model. We also support some large student team projects. Most of these right now are kind of competition focused. So there may be a competition like a Formula student racing event happening somewhere in Germany. The students, typically a group of 25 or 30 students, would come together, build a racing car, ship it to Germany, race it in Germany, bring the car back. That's a kind of, it's not an event of a small magnitude. These guys are thinking reasonably big, and we want to go even further. We recently started an initiative to engage with socially relevant project ideas. I'll talk a little bit about it, and this is the last part. I'll leave that towards the end. A quick snapshot of who C5 is as a being. We have about 1,000 students. These are hard metrics measured from our let's say attendance data. One place where attendance does matter. Students like it. We have about 1,000 students coming through, 800 repeat offenders, about 1,400 one-time offenders every year. So that's the kind of facility this is. We have about 80 projects that reach a certain level of completion. We have at least about 60 students walking in every day trying to do something. We have, IIT has a whole range of patents on its portfolio, but C5 contributed the first 2 students only patents. So almost all the other patents that IIT holds in its portfolio have a faculty member as a contributor and inventor. 4 companies have been incubated and they can be traced, they can trace their roots back to C5. I'll talk a little bit about this. The students like these world records, breaking world records, so they really go after it in a very big way. So they have some Limca world records and one Guinness world record in the offing. Industrial consultancy projects, so we recently have set up a facility by which an industry can come directly link with a group of students to get some work done. I will talk some options that are ongoing right now. Social impact, we are working with several NGOs to provide technological solutions for problems that they are facing. I will give you one example there. There is an NGO called Karma Foundation. They wanted to organize this unorganized Raddiwala sector. And so we are developing some smart weighing machines and apps and Android apps to help organize this unorganized sector. Academic support, so a typical place for a student to do their BTech project is the faculty members labs, but CFI is also a place that is available for the students because there is peer network available at CFI outside of their own branch groupings. Okay, so some students try to come here and they opt for this facility. Okay, that's kind of where we are. A quick snapshot. Now I talked of startups from CFI. I thought I will highlight a few. These are all ones that have in some sense broken in with seed funding and they are on their way. Okay, so there are others that are not yet on their way. I will talk about them a little bit later, but Lemma Labs was one of the first ones to come out of CFI. They are in the robotics education space for engineering students in the country. They are developing robotics education solutions. They are doing reasonably well. They are right here, they are based in Chennai. They have some offices in Bangalore. Hyperverge, this is the most recent success story to come out of CFI, specifically the CFI's computer vision group. Now what these guys do is they are developing smart apps using computer vision, and their vision is to be a leading player in the Internet of Things space, especially where vision data is streaming. And one of the products they are on their way to launch is basically scene recognition using deep neural networks. And so essentially provided a picture of this auditorium with all of you sitting, it would identify the scene as being an auditorium and tag the image with verbal data that can later be used for searches. Aether Energy is another startup that came out of CFI that is now both Hyperverge and Aether are housed right here in the research park. Their vision is to build smart electric automobiles for the Indian market, and that is what it is going to look like. They are on their way to doing it. They are going to essentially it is a lithium ion battery powered scooter that is expected to give the driver the same driving experience as a regular petrol fired scooter. That is their vision. They believe they have some unique selling points on the technology side that will make it happen for them. Makey Street is one of the, it is now about 5 or 6 years old. It is a startup that does, that provides essentially build your own kit. It provides build your own devices, build your own gizmos kits and designs for various for students essentially to come get their hands wet and do things. Airwood is another startup that is based right here in the research park again. They want to develop drone based systems for various applications, surveillance being one that they are talking about right now. Our biggest achievement are not these startups that are tied to ideas that were kind of tested at the Center for Innovation, but the group of students that come through this facility, wherever they go later on in life, they keep that entrepreneurial blood flowing in them. So they may go on to incubate companies based on ideas that are unrelated to what they did at IIT Madras or at CFI. And we had a quick reunion about a couple of months ago. There is about 22 students that are now doing their own startups, ranging from an e-lending library, all the way to many different kinds, all the way to web design and graphics, graphic design, and they are on their own, and they say the kind of the fuel came from their time at C5. The fuel for this idea came from their time at C5. Okay, now how is C5 organized inside there? It's basically a bunch of clubs that are all co-located in one space. That's how it started, and this is still kind of the skeleton that holds the facility together. There's a quick listing of some of those clubs and some recent activities that they've taken up. Their favorite is this bunk monitor application. I don't know if you experienced minimum attendance rule when you were students here, but now it's 85%. So again, one more round of claps for the people who are going through that system, I guess. But I'll tell you, they keep track of it using this application. They know when to go to class, when not to go to class. They're quite smart at doing these things. So there's also other clubs. The most recent two additions are the ones listed down here. We recently started a data analytics club. This is students from across all branches interested in data analytics. I'm sure many of you in the audience are either directly in the field of data analytics or kind of on the periphery. These are students that are learning the ropes in the field of data analytics. They want to go on to do something, they want to go on to do data analytics as a career, but they may be a metallurgist by training, they may be a civil engineer, and we want to provide them the necessary tools as part of this club to grow their careers in that direction. So in that sense, C5 is a place where they can come engineer their career in a direction independent of what the JEE rank told them they should be doing. It's a kind of a unique place in that sense. The most recent addition is a physics club. These are hobby physicists wanting to, again, they may be from any branch, but they are interested in physics as a science, and they are being advised by Professor Suresh Govindarajan, is one of our alumnus. He is kind of leading them in in this effort to form this club as we speak. All right, so most of the clubs have workshops. So a student that is, let's say, a non-data analytics person comes in there, they have to be trained. So we have professionals training them, and in many instances we have students training students. And so these are part of the club activities, and then these are other activities I talked about a little while ago. Quick snapshot of how C5 has grown in terms of the number of projects. Now I said it has grown steadily over the years, and this is what I call steady growth, but we are really poised for much more than this. So we now, the students have developed a plan to make C5 go viral in the next 2 months inside the student community. We want to double the number of projects happening inside C5 in the next 2 months. We want to increase the number of students coming in by at least 50% over the next 2 months. And one of the, when I looked at the data of all the students who choose to come to C5, it's mostly second and some third year students, very few fourth year students. We said in order to make the place interesting for them to come do something on their own, this has to be a real happening place where peer networking is active and it's rampant, it's vibrant. That's the kind of place we're going to build in the next 2 months, and I'm going to talk about where we really need your help to make that happen over the next 2 months towards the end of this talk. Now we have the necessary infrastructure to do it and handle these kinds of projects, but we're also scaling it up to make sure that we are able to handle these numbers. Now I said traditionally we've organized ourselves into clubs, and that's what skills are. Skills are all neatly vertically organized, but problems are usually not vertically organized. They require skills from many different clubs. So we started this kind of a horizontal structured groups which are more problem oriented. So we have 3 such groups right now that I want to just highlight here. We have one group that is looking at developing smart solutions for monitoring street lights in the city of Chennai. There is a group of about 15 students. There is sensing, there is electrical engineering, there is mechanical engineering, there is civil engineering, environmental sciences involved. We also want to go beyond just managing street lights. We want to have this as a platform where the corporation tomorrow can do whatever they want to do in there, sense traffic, sense carbon monoxide levels, sense NOx levels, using this platform. That's kind of what the students are aspiring to do. Aerial robotics, I talked about the company, the startup that was incubated out of CFI. They are helping this group develop smarter solutions for surveillance. A quick snapshot of projects that have kind of been completed at CFI over the past several years. Now, I said we are bringing in second and third year students on their own volition. Fourth year students tend to kind of pave their way differently away from CFI for whatever be the reasons, and we went about, did a quick survey on why that was the case. Because this is a group of students that have all the skills necessary. This is a group of students that have some time on their hand because they don't have coursework. So the one input we got back from this survey was that they needed more freedom. They needed more freedom to fail, as a matter of fact. And so what we said is we structured this program called Nirman along that lines, and the essential objective of this Nirman is to provide incubator like atmosphere inside the Center for Innovation. So a group of students can come do what they want to do and fail, all of this at the Center for Innovation's cost. So we give each team up to 2 lakhs of seed funding to test out any idea that they have, work in this program for a year. If they succeed, they can graduate on to the real incubator on campus. Now many of these activities, including this, are being taken up from with active support of the IIT Madras Entrepreneurs Forum, which is very active in the Bay Area as well as here in Chennai through TIE, with the help of the incubation cell. By the way, IIT Madras now has one of the most progressive, in fact I will say aggressive incubation policies of all IITs, and we really want to look at incubating startups as the way in the future. And so the idea of Nirman is to essentially bring a culture of entrepreneurship and independent effort to these students. We have about 100 students in this program, and so this is off and running, and we are looking for mentorship support for this program. And I'll say, I want to talk a little bit about how we as alumni can give back to the Center for Innovation. Money is the first thing that comes to our minds, and that's kind of the easiest thing to do in this day of net banking. But I'll say a bigger help that the student groups need is continuous ongoing involvement, whether it be in the form of advice, whether it be in the form of mentorship, criticism. An alumnus criticizing a student here is the best kind of criticism, because you've come through the same system, you know exactly how who these students are, and we have venture capitalists occasionally come criticize these ideas, give feedback. That's not the same. Their way of thinking is very different. So we really want you to come on board and mentor these students, give feedback to them, and those are 2 things. And the third, and I think the bigger thing that you can do for this student group is this. Most of you have spent about 25 years of your career or more in various lines, and you are all in positions of enabling various things, and that a group of enablers can take these ideas much further into society than what the students can do by themselves. So please come be enablers for this group of students. That's the biggest help you can do. And I'll tell you a few things we are trying to do to bring you on board. We're going to have regular Google Hangouts over the next 6 months. 2 kinds of Google Hangouts. Hangouts where a specific alumnus, it could be one of you here, comes, talks to this group of students, and it could be a kind of an interaction in that sense. The second is where we have a selected group of students on the Hangout, and all alumni are invited to come on board, share ideas. So we're going to be doing both of these kinds of Google Hangouts over the next 6 months. Please come be part of it. We'll send you mailings, and it will be arranged at times that are convenient in California and in the East Coast as well. So please come on board. Please be enablers for this group of students. Now, I've been involved with this center for about 2.5 years. I've been at IIT Madras for a little over 4 years now. I must say it's been an absolute delight to work with this group of students. They are self-selected. They are not your run-of-the-mill IITians. They are poised for much bigger things in their own individual lives. And I would invite every one of you to come, like I said, be an enabler to make this happen for them. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you. Of course. Well, yes, of course. I'm sure, yes, space will be a limitation, and thanks to again the batch of 1981, we have a proposal on hand to double the space at C5. That's going to happen in the next few months. So we have realized that as a limitation, but it is a limitation for future growth. Currently, even to do the kinds of things that I talked about, our current space is, I mean, we will be cramped, but cramped space is good. It tells students the value of efficiency and value of being efficient with using the space. Yes. Okay, thank you.